Now that was so much. Here, we just have to skip past the civil service and let you know what they did.
I do.
It was a quick little fast something, because I
Do, Dan can speak to what they did.
okay.
The civil service?
Yeah.
And I both back and I was at that meeting.
Yeah, but they approved it. There was approval of the.
Thomas is wandering off. He's headed for the shades. Well, we'll get started. At Clackamas Fire District, we're always here for you. We value our people and the people we serve. Our focus is establishing teams, trust, empowerment, accountability, mindset, and service. If you're attending in person, please sign in the sheet next to the door. And the regular meeting of the Clackamas Fire District Board of Directors will now come to order at 6 P.M. per ORS 192.615 P.M. Most of my meetings are 6, sorry. 192.610 to 192.690 per ORS 192.650. This meeting is being recorded. The video recording of this meeting will be placed on the Clackamas Fire District website. Please stand and join me in the flag pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chief Brown, are there any changes to the agenda?
Yeah, we have two small changes under R1B. Assistant Chief Stewart is not here today, and R1C, Assistant Chief Steve Peters are not here, so they will not have a report out.
Just gonna skip
Yeah,
those.
we'll just skip their reports out for this.
Okay. You can just shamelessly steal any information theirs and not even worry about it.
Yep, and then I do have one more small, and that is item B1. Nope, not B1. Where did it go? Sorry. One for Chief Stewart. Oh, there it is, B4. Chief Stewart will not be presenting that. I'll be presenting in his place for B4. Request board approval of the city of Gladstone's request for annexation. That will be me instead of Chief Stewart.
Okay. You can handle that. Moving along, do that. Next item, introduction new hire positions. Fire Chief Nick Brown.
Awesome, thank you so much. So we have two positions that we'd like to introduce to you tonight. Excited about these positions. The first one, we're gonna have program specialist Angie Peterson get up and introduce herself. Angie, if you just go right there, and then we'll have Chris Edmonds after Angie. The thing that I love about Angie, she's been a longtime resident here in Clackamas Fire's protection area. She worked for CCOM for many years. She's helped out in multiple testing processes within Clackamas Fire as a representative of CCOM, and we're super excited to have her join the Clackamas Fire family. So Angie, turn it over to you.
You stole my story. So Angie Peterson, born and raised here, live on the street I grew up on, actually. And yeah, I started out at LOCOM and 2007, worked there a couple of years, worked at CCOM for 13. And I just came from working for Oregon Department of Forestry as a wildland forester supervisor and assistant center manager at the regional coordination center for wildland fire, Forest Service ODF Interagency Center. Have been keeping my eye on Clack Fire for a while. Had, like Chief Brown said, I have participated in things and definitely worked alongside. And so I was excited to find a job that was a good fit for me.
Love it.
That's what I had.
And she'll be serving in the training division. So,
Perfect. Well, thank you, Angie. Well,
thank you, Angie. Chris, a little introduction for you. You can do it.
Sure, no, I'm the.
You're gonna go? Okay, I love that.
I'm not gonna make.
I
you do
I love it.
your stuff
I love it.
And then take the easy way out. After you, chief.
Okay, hey, great. So we know Chris Edmonds. He's been helping Clackamas Fire in the consultant role. And when we went out to expand our public face, and created this position, Chris applied. And I'm super excited to have Chris be serving as our Chief Information Officer for Clackamas Fire. He started on May 30th, and is starting to build the team. So, we'll be bringing in the future, next month, a new public information officer, as well as public, affairs and communication specialist, focused in his division where he'll be overseeing. But Chris, would love to turn some time over to you. Just grateful to have him on as part of our family.
We are replacing the existing PIO or you are?
Yeah, the existing PIO will be going back to fire prevention. That was just a temporary duty assignment. It was a
Okay.
short duration assignment, and we're making that role permanent now. So,
Thank you.
Chris.
Very well, thank you. I've learned a lot about Clackamas Fire, in my first couple of weeks full-time on the job. One of the things I'm learning is that we really like podiums. So I'm gonna try to get used to and embrace the podium. Like Angie, I grew up here in Clackamas County too. I still live on the street that I grew up on as well in West Lynn, which is awesome. Fifth generation or Oregonian, actually fifth generation Clackamas County resident. So we've got really deep roots here. Have an aunt that works over at the county. And lots of people in this neighborhood. So my background is political primarily. I started my career on Capitol Hill, worked with Senator Wyden, worked with Senator Merkley, and a number of our members of our delegation. And then several governors, worked for the Kitzhaber administration at DHS, managed government affairs there about 10 years ago. And for Governor Brown as well. The last 10 years, I've been primarily in private practice consulting with organizations like Clackamas Fire. And had been drawn to public service. But it wasn't until I developed this relationship with leadership here, with our board, with everybody in the ranks here at Clackamas Fire over the last 3 years that I really started being drawn to what would it look like to make a massive career pivot into the fire service. And I don't think that there is anything that is more important for us to solve from a public policy standpoint here in Oregon and in the West Coast, frankly, than wildfire protection. And so this is really mission work, and I'm just really happy to be here. So thank you.
Glad to have you. Welcome, Chris.
If you are good, unless you guys have questions, if we can excuse Angie, that way she can get home to the family, and we greatly appreciate that. And you can stay if you'd like to, or you can go.
I mean, not that I'm not interested. You'll probably watch the video.
Video will be posted later. It's a pretty good
Yeah.
show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, guys. Thanks.
Okay. Next up, approval of minutes of the regular board meeting on May 19th, 2025. Does any board member have any comments or changes to share? No? Okay, if there are no changes, the minutes of the regular board meeting, oh, I should check. Jim, did you have anything? Okay, holler if you do.
Want to know the weather?
Okay, if there are no changes, the minutes of the regular board meeting on May 19th, 2025 stand approved as written. Next up is approval of minutes of the budget committee meeting on May 15th, 2025. Does any board member have any comments or changes to share? No. No? Okay, if there are no changes, the minutes for the budget committee meeting on May 15th, 2025 stand approved as written. Next up, I will now call for statements from citizens regarding district business. Shelley, did we have anybody sign up?
We did not.
Okay, if there is someone who did not have a chance to sign up prior to the meeting, who has a public comment, please use the raise hand function on the bottom of your screen. If you're calling in, you can select *9 to indicate a raised hand and *6 to unmute and mute. I'll never call those, but I usually do. Each person will have up to 3 minutes to share their question or comment. Please state your name at the beginning of the question or comment. We're gonna have to shorten that. You lose the whole vibe when you gotta read that whole thing. All right, next up, budget hearing. We have, request board approval of resolution 25-01, adopting the budget, making appropriations and levying taxes for fiscal 2025-26. CFO Mark Whitaker.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. Board of Directors, so we're asking your approval of the adoption of the 25-26 budget. In the staff memo there, I do outline some minor, what I would consider minor changes between what was approved by the budget committee, so you and the citizen members, and what I'm proposing for the adopted budget. One is a fairly small change in the general fund to switch $8,000 around due to an oversight on my part to leave out money for our decal program and emergency operations. And then the second piece are some changes within Fund 80, which is the wildland mitigation fund and the fund for Crew 30. And what I've found this year was that we probably need a little more contingency in that fund just because of the nature of their work and the chance for deployments and things like that. And then also increasing the transfers from that fund to the general fund. Because as you'll see next in the supplemental budget, we're going to delay this year's transfer and move it into this year. All of these changes are under the 10% threshold, so you can approve them without having to bring back the budget committee. Otherwise, outside of those changes, everything is the same between what you approved in the budget committee and what is before you tonight.
Any board members have any questions or comments?
I have a comment. I want to thank CFO and Michael Long. They spent a considerable amount of time with me explaining this bird issue. And a lot more time being ready to talk to me, I'm sure, and I appreciate it.
Anything else, Jay? Jim, did you have anything?
Nope.
Okay. Do I hear a motion for the board to approve adoption of the fiscal year 2025-26 budget as presented in resolution 25-01?
I move that we accept the budget proposal as submitted.
Second,
I have a motion from Thomas and a second from Marilyn. Shelby, could you please call the roll?
Jay,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Marilyn,
yes,
Jim.
Yes.
Next up, item 9, supplemental budget hearing. We have request board approval of resolution 25-02, adopting appropriating supplemental budget for fiscal year 2024-25. CFO Mark Whitaker again.
Okay, well, again, so like we pretty much do every year, I'm requesting your approval of supplemental budget. This year, the largest changes, as usual, are in the general fund. The biggest piece being just under $3.5 million in revenue that we have received or will be receiving related to conflagration deployments both within the state and to California. And that has increased our overtime costs and our operational replacement costs. So we need to increase our appropriation authority to accommodate those. Similarly, as we've talked about throughout the year, our operational replacement budget just for regular leave within the district is also over budget. And so we'll be raising expenditure thresholds to meet that. Because we're receiving the conflagration reimbursement and some other revenues are exceeding expectations, we should still, even with those appropriation increases, have a balanced budget within the general fund come year end. So those are the general fund changes, and those are all outlined in attachment A. I'm also requesting some changes within Fund 80, the wildland mitigation fund again, and that is mostly an oversight on my part, not expecting them to do a full potentially 3-week deployment up to Alaska at the very end of the year. And so I'm a little worried about them overspending their expenditure authority. So making some changes there, like I mentioned in the last item. So we'll cancel their transfer to the general fund this year and instead put that towards personnel and overtime for this year. So they stay within their appropriation authority. And then the last supplemental item I'm asking for is just a transfer within the health benefits fund to move some contingency to the expense side. I don't actually think we're gonna need it, but that's just a precautionary measure in case health claims come in high the last couple of weeks of the year. So those are the changes that I'm asking for in supplemental budget. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any board member have any questions or comments on the supplemental budget?
I have a question mark. The conflagration funds from California, do you really anticipate to receive this fiscal year?
I don't anticipate we'll actually receive the money this fiscal year. But under our accounting principles, what we'll do is since we know that we're going to be paid for them, we'll accrue that revenue back to this fiscal year. So we'll, on the budgetary side, we will assume that revenue
So is that a cash basis or is that accrual basis?
is accrual basis.
Thank you.
And we've already billed the state of California, so we know what, they'll send us once all that's approved and forwarded on. And that's what we've done in the past when configurations have crossed fiscal years.
Any other questions, comments? Jim, did you have anything?
Nope.
I'd just say I appreciated the way you wrote them out, Mark. Well, this and the regular budget, the explanation for the changes, it was made it nice and easy to follow. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
And the insurance thing, giving in the, I like things in a little different, one big file.
It makes it easier to track the expenses for reimbursements and configurations and all of that grants. So yeah, it's something we've been wanting to do and finally got to do it. So.
Good. Okay, do I hear a motion for the board to approve the fiscal year 2024-25 supplemental budget as presented in resolution 25-02?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion for Marilyn and a second from Jay. Shelby, could you please call the roll?
Jay,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Marilyn,
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
Motion carries. Great. Next up is 10, presentation annual workers' compensation renewal, agent of record Jeff Griffin, third time's a charm, from Wilson Harrigan Associates. Jeff, good to have you here.
It's great to be here, and thank you for making me laugh. I've been called much worse today than that. In your packet is some renewal data. And I brought a few extras if anybody needs a copy. Everybody good? Let's, if we can, turn to page 21. And we'll go through some basic numbers and I love math and I love how the National Council works. Normally 2 and 2 is 4. In the case of the National Council out of Boca Raton, Florida, it is not. And I want to point this out. As you know, your experience mod is based on a 3-year rolling average 4 years ago. The last year is dead. All injuries in all work class codes go down to Boca Raton, Florida. And they calculate what it costs to pay for those injuries. It's a retrospective rating system, and it is very flawed. The idea with the experience mod is that it would level your cost over time, but that's not what happens. Because it is retrospective, it actually amplifies your cost. So a low loss year, 2020, came off, and that was $190,699. And a high loss year came on, but if you notice, your experience mod went down 5 points. So that's kind of an eyebrow raiser, and I want to explain what transpired. In 2022, 2023, the National Council in 42 states use the National Council. Oregon is one of the many. In 23, the National Council capped losses at $198,500. So if you had a loss above that, it was capped at that, so the rest of the loss was drafted off, so it didn't blow your mod up. They changed that last year and they reduced it down to $98,500. $100,000 is what they reduced it. That's created this lower experience mod. So it's not from what we've done. It's a mathematical issue that has occurred down there, but I do want to take a moment, shine light on it and brag about the district. We get to work with most of the fire service and much of the public service here in Oregon. Your experience mod at 0.97 is incredibly low. You've got neighbors that are 1.2, 1.3. The rates have been expanding, the losses have been expanded. I'm going to get into that in a little bit. You should be very proud of 0.97. That's just unheard of. Over the last 4 or 5 years, the rates have been compacted and they're slowly starting to expand. And I'll explain that more in just a little bit. But the good news is that your experience mod is down 5 points. That gives you a 5% reduction this year going forward. Let's go to the next page if we can. This page, and you're probably going to want to look at it in your packet, is really the numbers page that you want to look at hard. If you go down to halfway down the page, you'll see what your experience mod has done over time. It has, it was at one point about a 0.66 over the years. It has slowly drifted up to 0.97. I'll explain more of that in just a little bit. Now it's a 0.92, which is great. The volume of claims, the frequency of claims is literally unchanged. If you go to the next column over in the middle of the page, it's your payroll. You'll see payroll has changed significantly over the years. We've added employees, and the cost of doing business, our payroll has increased. If you go down to the next row down that has the two red boxes, this really tells a story. If you look, 2 years ago, we had claims that were 202% of paid premium, which is fairly significant. The year prior was 223. Currently, we're at 41%. That number will go up because the claims are not completely developed. The number of claims we're having is pretty consistent with what we would expect. This last year, we had 45 claims. Mathematically, we should be at about 41.9 claims. So we're a little bit above. We're having a few frequent claims, but we've also had a number of disabling claims. So we've got 4 closed claims that have a reserve that we're in the process of trying to take down. We need to take those down before the end of the year. December 31st is what's called the unit stat date. Every dollar that's in a reserve that's not paid out counts towards next year's mod. So we've got 4 open claims, we've got 4 closed claims that we're trying to get closed out and get that money back out. And then we have 2 open claims that are fairly significant that I think are going to keep those numbers up a little bit. Do note that 2024 is not developed yet, and we're expecting that to increase over this next year with some of the open claims that we've got. If you look at the bottom of the page, you'll see the size of our claims. Our largest claim is at $1.8 million, and then we have a number of claims that are fairly significant. If you turn to the next page, you'll see what the premiums have done. If we had the exact same payroll last year versus this year, you'll see, excuse me. Oh, wait, this is total annual premium. I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. Total annual estimated premium is at $1,877,000. If you turn to the next page, you'll see a comparison year over year. So if the payroll, oh, I don't think it shows in this one, I apologize.
Sorry.
If you look in your booklet, you'll see a year over year. And the important thing that I want to point out here is the rates have changed significantly over the years. So Boca Raton, Florida produces what's called a pure rate, the minimum rate that it costs to cover existing claims. These are graphs. This is a graph that shows what the rate has done. And this last year, the pure rate from Boca Raton came back with a 12.61% increase, which is a big part of what the rate change has been. All insurance companies, including SAFE, load those rates. So the pure rate is what it costs to pay claims. The loaded rate picks up all the service work, the attorneys, SAFE staff, and what it takes to get the claims closed. Normally, we don't show this sheet, and I may start showing it on a regular basis. The pure rate pops out usually the 1st of October. So this year in October, we'll know what next year's rates are going to be. Shortly after that, SAFE publishes what their tiered rates will do. And you'll see that this year over last year, all the rates went up in what SAFE charges, somewhere between 6 and 12%. Now, what they do is they assign by risk factor a tier group, somewhere between P and L. I think they struggled with the alphabet the way they did this. But this is what that looks like. Most of the fire service is in an elevated tier because of our presumptions. In 2010, when cancer came around and was signed in, House Bill 2420, I think there were 12 body system cancers. And all the insurance companies panicked that it was going to drive rates up very quickly. We didn't think so from our studies with other states. And that's actually come to bear true. We average about 5 cancer claims a year is all, not very many. We do have some, and clearly, meta study and other studies show that firefighters are much more likely to get cancer than their counterpart. In fact, at age 40, there's one cancer that firefighters are 800 times more likely to get than a civilian counterpart. This district, as well as much of Oregon, is doing everything they can to mitigate that. So how we don, doff, how we wash our turnouts, how we clean our air packs, how we clean our helmets, our hoods, you're doing everything right there. How we mop up afterwards, you're spot on with what you're doing there. What studies are starting to show is that the actual delta between civilians and firefighters is only 8%. There are certain cancers we're much more likely to get, but if we look at all cancers, we're about 8% more likely. We want to look at civilians that are getting cancer and aren't getting cancer. There are a series of things that we really need to push. Hydration, flush things out of our system. Sleep, which is difficult to do in this industry because you're getting called, you're getting toned out all night long. Being physically fit and eating right. And that's going to be the big push that you see out of our office. And I think you'll see in the fire service with the IFC moving forward, is we really need to do all the things, not just don and doff right, not just be concerned about the carcinogenics at the fire scene, but improving the quality of our life. In 2019, September 29th, post-traumatic stress became another presumption for us. Our firefighters see things that human beings should not see. They see humanity at its worst. And our suicide rate is astronomical. And clearly that as a presumption makes sense. The struggle with it versus cancer is it has driven rates straight up. So from 2019 to present, what we're seeing nationwide is a voluminous number of claims that are occurring in the 27 states that have some kind of post-traumatic stress. Seeing that come down the pike in 2019, we made a presentation to SAFE to try to get in front of the power curve. It took 2 years for them to approve it, but they did finally approve our program that we call the 5-step program. But they didn't want it to be branded with any particular name, so we took it through the Oregon Fire Chiefs, and it's right now branded statewide with the fire chiefs. Let me tell you what the numbers look like and tell you what I think the future is going to hold for us. The year that they finally approved our program and supported it financially, SAFE has given the Oregon Fire Chiefs $150,000 for the program. 100% of the money that goes into that program is going to training from a group called Boulder Crest out of New York. We've absorbed all the other things that we've recommended in the program. So the year they approved the program, they logged, SAFE logged 36 open claims. Keep in mind, cancer's at 5, post-traumatic stress is at 36 first year. We rolled out the program, but before we were able to actually start the hard work of the counseling and some of the other things we recommended, the claims rate dropped to 32. Now, if you compare us with those states, Washington, the numbers, the claims frequency is straight up. And LNI said a year ago, LNI is SAFE's counterpart in the state of Washington. LNI said a year ago that they were afraid that post-traumatic stress could bankrupt the system. That's how pervasive it is. So SAFE logged 36, 22. The first full year of the program, they logged 24. And so far this year, they have 5 claims. We think the program is working. What we did was, and I only brought a couple of these, but I'll leave one behind. What we did was we took their underwriting standards and we amplified a number of things on a better hiring process, a better implementation when we onboard a new firefighter, and then heavy on the prevention. State will not let us touch the claims, which is unfortunate because once we have a claimant, it's just impossible to get them off and back to work healthy. That's the goal. And then a pre-retirement program. The program appears to be working. Why I wanted to belabor the presumptions, because they're what's driving the cost right now. I believe that we are another year or 2 away from it peaking and starting to come back down. I want to mention that because we've looked at self-insurance. If you look at the claims we've had, and the fact that we had, over 2 million in 1 year, it does not make sense to self-insure. So what are the other options? There's a company nationwide called 7710. We met with them, just this last week again. They don't want anything to do with the presumption stage, so they're not coming into Oregon. They are willing to talk to us this fall based on what kind of claims we've had, in the state of Oregon. I don't know that they'll come in very quickly. When we look at the, there's roughly 100 insurance companies that provide workers' comp in the state of Oregon. Of those in our industry, and I know we're being recorded, so I'm not supposed to say red line, so I did not say red line. But the industry refuses to quote some industries. The insurance industry refuses to quote certain industries. Fire is one of them. They just won't. So we sent out a volume of quote requests to the Hartfords, the Liberties, the Travelers, the Chubbs, all came back no. We really have a couple of options. We can self-insure, not wise at this juncture. It might be downstream. Or we stay with SAFE or potentially a 7710 if they come into the state. Most important for us is to stay in front of the power curve with the claims. When we get an open claim, be on it fast and try to get it closed as quick as we can and get our people healthy and back to work. A couple of things, victories that we did have a year ago. If you looked at the rates last year versus this year, there was a class code called wildland firefighter. We've always felt that that was redundant. If you read the definition of a firefighter in the state of Oregon, it includes wildland fire, not just structure. That's the way it was written. We fought with SAFE for well over a year that they were uprating us when we did wildland, and SAFE finally agreed. So this year, they've taken it off, and I think we're getting some money back. Is that right? The last couple of years they've done. So they're going to go retroactive and give us a little bit of money back. Say that we have not yet won the fight on what we call verifiable time records. We have a lot of firefighters, a lot of management especially, that very rarely goes out to an emergency scene. And we utilize that, but how we track those records is very challenging. And we're hoping to simplify that downstream. When I look at these numbers and what it does to budget, we have to find a fix. Now, we've proposed to the Oregon Fire Chiefs lobbyist, and Marilyn pointed out at the bottom of the page, what is this DCBS tax they're charging us? There's three individual things that SAFE charges for. Hypothetically, if an individual is working in 2 jobs and hurt in 1, the state requires they get 2/3 of all of their pay. And that unfortunately impacts both employers. So there is a fee that they charge so that that doesn't go back to the employer where they were not working. So hypothetically, we've got an individual, a firefighter that works here in the daytime, they work in the grocery store at night, they're hurt in the grocery store, they get their 2/3 of their wage here. But it doesn't impact us. It doesn't drive up our experience mod. It doesn't drive up our cost. It doesn't negatively have an impact on our loss ratio. That's one of the 3 taxes. There's some disability, there's some rehab issues that you see that are part of those taxes. One of the things that we are vetting out to see if we can propose is that there be a very, very small tax for all presumptions with fire service. Here's my argument and my belief. Cancer, post-traumatic stress normally doesn't happen because of one event. It is something that occurs over a long period of time. An employer, a fire department can't budget for that. We have 2 or 3 cancers, we have 2 or 3 post-traumatic stress claims. It drives our rates through the roof. And my argument is that we are serving the public. If we had all of the public pay a small amount into their DCBS tax for us, for presumption, it would offload the cost to the fire department, which is where I believe it should be. Mass says that if every employer in Oregon paid $149, we'd have a pool of $20 million, which would cover all of those post-traumatic stress claims, all those cancer claims today in the state of Oregon. So my hope is, and I hope it's not offensive to anybody doing this. My hope is that we get to move that out of the rating system for the fire service and reduce our cost down. The Campbell Group is the ones, the Victory Group, the Campbell family is the one that's gonna carry the water for us. They work both for fire and police. But our argument is that if this district had 2 or 3 of these claims, you'd see your mod explode. And there's no way that we can predict when or what call it's gonna be on. So that's what we're hoping to do statewide to get in front of the power curve with these claims. I do want to thank you for giving us Brian, who has worked hard with some of the numbers, trying to put some of this together in Salem, and all of you for your involvement in the associations and what you do to make this a better state to live in. I wish I had better news for you. I will tell you that in comparing this district to other districts, you have a great experience, mod, and you're leading the way. Now we got to step up and do better. Not you as a district, but us as an industry. All of that said, we're not going to take our eye off on sprains and strains. That's killing the industry. 52 to 58% of all of our injuries are sprains and strains. One of them that you don't do here is a drill called the Denver drill. It's blowing shoulders out. We don't do that here, but we're watching sprains and strains hard. I covered an awful lot of ground quickly. What questions can I address for you?
Marilyn?
Yeah, Jack, if they're on the wildland rates and the firefighter rates, won't they just elevate the firefighter rates over the next couple of years?
You'd think that, but our analytics say no, because there are for-profit wildland crews. And if you follow history, I think it was Grayback that stacked up. That was disrespectful. Grayback lost a van, he hit a log truck, I believe, and we lost a number of lives there. I can't think of the other big one, but they have had, their claims rate is pervasive. So no, what I do think is gonna happen is their rates, I think we have been holding their rates down, the fire service. So I think their rates are gonna go up fairly quickly, and appropriately so. All they do is wildland fire. And I don't like the rates go up for anybody, but I also don't like us subsidizing those rates.
And I have a question on the presentation, the paper presentation. Well, on the limits of insurance, which is the initial page, it says employer's liability, part 2, bodily injury by accident, 500,000 each accident, and then goes on to Z, same. Are those caps or deductible?
We made a bet in the office that you were gonna ask that question. I just want you to know, and I won. That's the liability side. So on workers' compensation, the idea of workers' compensation is its sole remedy. We don't want employers and employees to be fighting each other. It does have a liability kicker, and that's what that picks up. You can raise that up to $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. There's not a lot of cost to do it. In my history in the industry, I'm only aware of 2 claims where it started to go down the lawsuit area rather than the injury area. And we've got numbers for you in the past. We'll get numbers for you again. The $500,000 has been more than adequate to defend us in those cases.
So I guess I don't understand your answer. What is that a cap or is that?
That's a liability cap. It is not an injury cap. So our biggest injury of a human soul here in Oregon is about 3.3 million. So that's not a medical cap. That's not a rehabilitation cap. That's not a cap for those costs. It would be a lawsuit if somebody tried to sue the district. And the SDO policy may actually sit over the top of that, and I'll look and see, because I think that limits 10 million. And I'll get back to Mark if that's all right and address that. But that would only be if an employee chose not to file a traditional claim, they chose to sue the department. Once a claim is filed, it goes through the traditional system.
Well, I thought it was an exclusive remedy. I didn't know they had no.
But that was also debated in the office, and you're spot on. It's not, it is an exclusive remedy, but it's not. There's a fallback.
Because that's what it says here. The employee can't sue the employer. So.
So,
With my understanding.
yeah, that's the way it is set up to be. So they don't want employees suing the employer. They want it out of their hands so that we don't have a caustic situation. And that's why in 40 years, only twice am I aware of an employee who said no. One of them had to do with high pressure oil that was shot in an eye with a transportation company up here in the Gresham area. And it also didn't come to a great fruition.
Thank you.
Thomas, do you have any questions or?
No, that's okay.
Jay? How about you, Jim? My only word is that it'd be minor. But in the listing of sites,
Yes,
it lists the address for station 1 and station 21. It says station 1 is 2001 Southeast Highway 212.
that's Ford Road, isn't it?
No, station 1 is,
That's it.
station 1's Fuller
That's
Road.
in the
So the address is actually one for station 21, and station 21 is showing, well, that should be station 18. I think, yeah, that's gotta be station 18. Yeah,
Let me-
We'll get you the right.
Thank you. We'll make sure that those are right.
I figured it probably matters sooner or later.
Always good to have it exact.
I think that's it, Jeff. Thank you for the presentation. I appreciate everything you do, because I know as much as we might not like these rates, you do everything you can to get us the best deal you can, and you're always watching out for it and trying to make it better. So we appreciate that.
Thank you, and I would be remiss if I didn't say your staff's a big part of making this work behind the scenes. So we're thrilled. We're hoping that better things come. Definitely, we want our firefighters taken care of. Healthy, retiring healthy, and there's gotta be a better way to do this.
Your ears. Be safe.
Appreciate you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Appreciate all you do.
You gonna head off into the sunset? Cause
I am gonna go home and feed my dog her late dinner.
dogs outrate me, that's for sure. All right. Next up, we have request board approval of workers' compensation renewal. CFO Mark Whitaker.
I don't really have anything to add from what Jeff presented, except that we do have enough budgeted in the 2025-26 budget for this premium. I've worked closely with Jennifer King from Jeff's office to make sure that our budget projections match with what they think, so we're good there. So I would just request approval of the workers' comp insurance policy from state.
Okay. Any board members have any comments or questions for Mark? No. Do I hear a motion for the board to approve the workers' compensation proposal and workers' compensation policy for fiscal year 2025-26 at the cost of $1,877,750? So moved.
I second.
I have a motion from Jay and a second from Thomas. Shelley, could you call the roll, please?
Jay,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Marilyn,
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
Varies. Thank you. Next up, B4, request board approval of City of Gladstone's request for annexation. And Chief, you were gonna take this one.
Yeah, I got this one. Thanks so much.
Okay.
We'd just like to call attention that Administrator Betts is here. And it has truly been an honor to be able to serve side by side with her the last 3 years. The staff report or the board request is as submitted. We're requesting that the Board of Directors approve the City of Gladstone's request to annex into Clackamas Fire District. Is proposed by the conditions in City of Gladstone's resolution number 1240. A little bit of background, Clackamas Fire has been the emergency services provider for the City of Gladstone since 2022. Since that time, Administrator Betts and myself, as well as Assistant Chief Stewart, have been working side by side, providing the level of service that we've been able to fortunately serve the City of Gladstone and being able to provide. Brian Stewart, Chief Stewart, is part of Administrator Betts' city's management team. Attends those meetings. And the lines of communication have been open and amazing between the city and Clackamas Fire. we've done a lot of community engagement since 2022. We've had 3 years of interagency meetings, community engagement by the city and Clackamas Fire. Following our joint work session that we had, oh geez, Jackie, I'm messing up the dates of end of April, correct? Or was it?
Yes.
Yep. And I guess you would have known that too. We've done a public survey. We've done multiple open houses. We've done a city webinar. Since that time, at the council meeting on June 10th, the city of Gladstone adopted resolution number 1240 by a vote of 7-0 to request that Clackamas Fire annex the city of Gladstone effective July 1st, 2026. To say that that it's been an honor to be able to be the fire chief for Clackamas or for city of Gladstone is an understatement. Love the community, love how the community rallies and participates in community events. And to be able to see the city's involvement in the community, it's inspiring. Love the leadership team, the police chief, and all of this under the leadership of Administrator Betts. It's been a true partnership. And I genuinely enjoyed the way that Administrator Betts described the relationship in the council meeting as we were dating, and now it's time to get married. And as a matter of fact, I said I do in that meeting. It's truly been amazing to be the fire chief for the city of Gladstone and to be able to provide the services that Clackamas Fire is known for. And so with that, I would like to answer any questions that you have, but the report submitted as you have in front of you.
Any board member have, oh, it looks like Jim's got his hand up. Go ahead, Jim.
No questions, but just a statement to make. As a member of the interagency committee, the collaboration with Gladstone, our meetings have been very positive since the very beginning. I watched the city council meeting last week, and the chief mentioned they voted 7-0 unanimous to ask Clackamas to request them to be annexed. Very positive meeting. They were very excited, as the chief mentioned. Their staff leadership led by Jackie has been amazing throughout this entire endeavor. It's been a great partnership since 2022. I think we've talked about it before, even back when we voted for the contract in the first place. The benefits for each of our jurisdictions in this case are a long list. So it's interesting to me because this is something that fire chiefs and board members clear back to the 1980s and the 1990s, especially for Clackamas 71 and Oak Lodge, who were 2 fire districts that bordered Gladstone, desperately would have longed for this relationship and the opportunity to annex with Gladstone. But it wasn't the right time. 40 years later, it's 2025. We've got the right people in the right place at the right time and the right positions. And in 2025, to me, it's meant to be. So I'll definitely be supporting this in voting yes, not just for myself, but I want to dedicate my yes vote to the many board members in the past, many who have passed on, who I know would have supported this unconditionally. So I'll be voting for them as well. So thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Chief, and everyone and all the work that you've done for this. It's very positive.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions, comments? Anyone else? Okay. Then, do I hear a motion for the board to approve the city of Gladstone's annexation request into Clackamas Fire?
As a IGA committee, but a member, I propose we accept the request for annexation from city of Gladstone.
Second. I have a motion from Thomas and a second from Jay. Shelby, could you please call the roll?
Jay,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Marilyn,
Abstain.
Jim.
Yes.
Perfect. Motion passes. Next up, B5, because after B4, before what? Before this?
Yeah.
Request board approval of one Pierce Type 1 pumper purchase. Support Services Officer Bill Bishop.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. My board is as submitted, however, I would like to give you guys a little bit more information on this dealer allocated stock unit. This is a new program that Pierce came out with this year, where they provide an option for all of their dealers in the country to provide one quarterly pumper to their customers. We have been offered the third position for this, and what this is it's taking a lot of the common specs that Pierce builds from all over the country, and they kind of put this into one, and it's a Florida build, so it's a Pierce Saber chassis. Florida is not as busy as Appleton, however, the Saber chassis is essentially the Enforcer chassis, which is the chassis that we buy on our current spec. There's not a whole lot of differences. There are several spec lines within this build that our district may not normally, or sorry, that we would normally add more into this spec, however, I guess to keep this a more affordable build and to keep it a little more standardized, they really limit how many things you can change in this spec. And what I see moving forward for our district and as well as probably across the country is you're gonna see this a lot more. Where some of these common specs just get built into this standardized spec, if you will, and anything additional gets done at the dealer level, or it just doesn't get purchased. And so that's kind of it in a nutshell on this dealer allocated spec. I feel this is something that would be advantageous for us to take advantage of. We would take possession of this in less than 12 months. And whereas the ones we ordered the last 2 years, I'm still waiting to do a pre-construction build on this. And so with that, one other thing, we have also discussed taking advantage of the full prepayment discounts versus earning interest in that time frame, 10, 11, 12 months. And so we're talking with CFO Whitaker, we're probably going to take advantage of those discounts to make it just over $1 million. So I'll answer any questions.
say 1 million.
$1,196,000.
That's just.
It's a savings.
Any questions or comments? Thomas?
For an ignorant person, what does that pumper do?
The pumper, that is the fire truck that everybody recognizes in the fire service. It's the
So it's a different name?
it's the engine, the fire engine.
Fire engine.
Oh, engine.
It's a type 1 fire engine. Thank you.
So if they have time to build these non-step things, why don't they have time to build the step thing?
Good question. That's a fair question, and I'm not sure I can answer it. Because I do believe that this also, it helps put them behind. Having this allowance for all of their dealers to purchase a quarterly pumper. Pierce is still working to build their capacity up, and they're still, I think, about a year away from having some other buildings built to increase that capacity, but they're working really hard to do that. And having the workforce and having the parts availability and all this stuff all kind of falls into that as well.
But from your perspective, you feel this is close enough to the Enforcer or whatever it is that we buy?
This is very close. They have added in a lot of the spec that I would normally put in. There's still some items that I would normally put in that we just can't add. They won't make it available. That being said, those are just some tools that we would use, that we would have in our spec normally, but it doesn't make it useless to us. This would still be a good bill.
And it doesn't make our people less safe.
No, absolutely not.
I mean, I know why they're doing it. They see this going the same way. They might slow their production down from a production management standpoint. The more they can standardize a unit, they can start pushing stuff through a lot faster, that you have people learn how they can do it. You know, instead of having a one-off on this and a change on that, they can just start knocking those out. They're probably willing to take the hit in the production schedule now, because when people see this and find out they can get one for 10 months, you're gonna have a whole lot more people saying, how do I get one of those? And pretty soon, within a year or two, you're probably gonna see that it's not one every quarter, it'll be two. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to push from their end, to get their production more standardized and push this standardization.
Yes, it's a cookie cutter of sorts.
Yeah.
However, they do give you a little bit of bandwidth to make some changes.
Okay, no, I like the idea, Bill. I think more standardization, if we can get, as long as it's not a significant deviation and our people are still safe, then sometimes you need to get what you want or get what you need instead of what you want.
Good way of putting it.
Right? So, Jim, did you have any questions? I got you tired out from your speech a minute ago.
He's still trying to
Oh,
do.
there you go. Did you like that?
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. It's more than you've said in last 10 meetings. Okay, do I hear a motion for the board to approve the purchase of the identified Pierce Type 1 pumper apparatus in an amount not to exceed $1,050,000?
So moved.
Second. I have a motion from Marilyn and a second by Jay. Shall we call the roll, please?
Jay,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Marilyn,
Yeah.
Jim.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next up is B6, request board approval for the purchase of firefighter Class D personnel. Should be personal protective equipment. This, Bill, you're up again.
Thank you. Also known as turnouts. The report is submitted as is. Happy to answer any questions. This is really just to kind of keep us on track to continue replacing aged and worn turnouts, as well as the purchase of new turnouts for new recruits.
This is our
It's an ongoing effort.
rotate them every year or whatever we're doing. Yeah.
We're currently, NFPA is kind of at a 10-year standard. We've raised ours to 12 because we're a little behind. We still test them annually and make sure everything's safe and everything's intact, and make repairs as needed, and we do not put them back on the line if they fail.
Good. I just like, we're not waiting to get them all at once. We're getting one chunk every year, so.
Can I piggyback on what Bill said,
Certainly.
of the deviation from the national standards of 10 years? We went out and hired a third-party consultant in 2016, 17. Do you remember that, the analysis I sent to you?
That was right about,
It's right about that time. This is when we made the change from Janesville to Morning Pride. We had a third-party consultant to look at specifically how we take care of our turnouts and what we're doing. And in the third-party consultant, through testing and everything that we're doing, is the one that sent us and said, based on if you maintain this process that you guys are doing, your turnout's gonna last 12 years. So that's where we've extended to that 12-year mark. As long as they pass safely. Most fire agencies in the nation don't have a third-party company that manages their turnouts, cleans them, takes care of them, and inspects them like we do. So because of that, and because of the good work that Support Services does, we're able to extend the life of the turnouts.
Any board member have any questions? No. Do I hear a motion for the board to approve the purchase of firefighter Class D PPE in an amount not to exceed $300,000? So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Jay and a second from Marilyn. Don't could you please call the roll?
Jay,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Marilyn.
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
Motion carries. Yeah, next. Thank you, Bill. We'll buy all kinds of stuff.
We'll spend your money.
It seems to be what you do. And I still haven't gotten to drive a fire engine.
Come see me.
It'll be fine. B7, request board approval to certify the election results for 2 directors to Clackamas Fire District 1, Fire Chief Nick Brown.
Awesome, thank you so much. Attached, what you see in front of you are the official results from the May 2025 special election for Multnomah and Clackamas counties. For RS 255.295, the Fire District's Board of Directors is to accept and affirm the official results that you have before you that are in writing to Clackamas County Clerk. It also needs to advise the clerk that all elected candidates are qualified to hold the office, which we will do. We request that the board accept and affirm the election results from Clackamas County that were won by a landslide by the 2 board members that went through the process.
Landslide,
Be happy to answer any questions about these 2 fine individuals that are on the board.
Anybody have any questions or comments for the chief?
Oh, Nick,
Yes.
Go ahead, Jim.
I see that Chris got 15 more write-in votes than Jay did. How come we don't get to see who all the write-in votes were?
That's a great point.
I know, I kind of missed that part.
Yeah.
No.
Votes Mickey Mouse got,
That's right, yeah,
because he was always good for.
he was always good.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, do I hear a motion for the board to accept / affirm the May 20th election results for 2 Clackamas Fire District board members?
And we have to affirmatively state to the clerk that they are qualified to serve as the.
Correct.
That's the.
Yes, that's the big thing right there.
So moved.
second it,
A motion from Marilyn and a second from Thomas. Shelby, could you please call the roll?
Jay,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Thomas,
yes.
Marilyn,
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Swearing in at board of directors, Fire Chief Nick Brown. We will now swear in our 2 re-elected board of directors for Clackamas Fire District.
Awesome. Chris and Jay, if you please stand. If you raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I,
Jay Ross, do hereby state.
do hereby state
That I'll perform my duties.
that I will perform my duties
As a director, as a board of director with Clackamas Fire District,
as the board of director of Clackamas Fire District
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
I'll be exemplary in conduct,
I will be exemplary in conduct,
personal appearance,
personal appearance,
and manner of speech.
and manner of speech.
I will support the purpose,
I will support the purpose,
mission,
mission,
and the cause
and
of
cause
saving lives and protecting property.
of saving lives and protecting property.
I will value our people,
I will value our people,
the people we serve,
the people we serve,
and the team.
and the team.
I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America
I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America
and the state of Oregon.
and the state of Oregon.
I will obey all state and local statutes,
I will obey all state and local statutes,
as well as the policies and procedures
as well as the policies and
of
procedures of
Clackamas Fire District.
Clackamas Fire District.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you. Before you leave, we have some, oaths we can do this. What? I knew you would say champagne. I've got some things I need you to sign.
That whole exemplary in conduct. Right out the window, didn't it?
You didn't bring any sprinkled donuts.
Oh, well, that's
That's
true.
best thing is the champagne.
The problem is I'm having a tough time fitting in my uniform, so that's why there's.
Donuts, that's a shame.
Chris, he has been promising me that for the last 7 weeks.
I was kind of expecting that he was gonna pull out a junior firefighter stick.
I gave my last little helmet away. I gotta steal one.
You
All
can
right.
see me for those 2.
He's got everything.
Yeah, got those. Okay, up next is other business. OB1 is board committee liaison reports. Let's see, we did not have a capital projects meeting. Civil service.
Dan, would you speak to that?
Daniel, a quick.
Yeah, there is a civil service meeting on May 27th, 2025 at 1 p.m. And the only thing on the agenda was to certify the public information officer results. So there was a list that was approved of, let me look at the grand total here, 8 people. For the position of public information officer. That was approved by the commission.
Thank you, Dan.
You bet.
EMS committee.
We did not have a meeting, right?
Did not have a meeting, okay. We didn't have an executive foundation liaison. Jay, did you have anything? No report. Nothing there. Interagency committee directors, Joseph or Searing?
No.
Interagencies?
No.
No meetings.
Volunteer association liaison, director Searing, did you have anything on that one?
Nope,
Next month.
up in July, the next
Okay.
quarterly meeting.
And we have just wheeled through the list. And Dan was the only one who got to say anything. Okay, OB2. Does any board member have any informational updates or comments to share? Hearing none, moving right along. Informational only, we're now R1A division or office of fire chief, Nick Brown.
Great, thank you so much. Jeff was talking about some of the things, the risk factors to lower or moderate and to make our people healthier, sleep being one of them. And we've initiated a strategy that was supported by the board with implementing that new shift, the D shift. And hopefully that proves to be fruitful in reducing the sleep deprivation and having constant nights at home in their own beds asleep, where they could sleep. The other thing that's pretty amazing about what Clackamas Fire does is the focus on fitness and overall well-being. But one of the things it has, and I think, has the fitness challenge been the last 5 years?
Yes, been about
5 years.
A couple on that. Yeah.
Clackamas Fire and local 1159, this is actually driven from local 1159, partnered with Clackamas Fire and Lake Oswego, they created a fitness challenge. And everybody and their families have the opportunity to participate in this fitness challenge. This year is the first year that's actually open to other fire departments, I believe City of Portland, Tualatin Valley, a bunch of neighboring departments to join. And Clackamas Fire received for the teams, you divide into teams, so there's a team of anywhere from 3 to 5 people on each team. And they look at muscle mass gain, they look at weight loss, and they have a calculation, and that's who they determine had the most gains in the fitness challenge. Clackamas Fire's team, multiple teams within Clackamas Fire, but the number 1 and number 2 teams for all fire departments were from Clackamas Fire. And the individual winners were Blake Gendavelis, I always mess up his last name,
You nailed it.
and Greg Holland. So both from Clackamas Fire. So it just really shows the safety or the focus that Clackamas Fire has on fitness. And so the things that Jeff was talking about, we're trying to do, and the union is pushing forward for their membership. So it's really, really cool to see the approach that our people have. As far as just some quick updates, I'm gonna turn some time over to Chris here to speak about the CFD reaching out to the communities of Gladstone, Sandy, as well as Crew 30 getting deployed to Alberta, and some media coverage that we've gotten for that. Chris, if you just talk about those 2 items.
Sure. So you've been following along with our process for annexations, exploring the annexations in Gladstone and Sandy. So we've completed now 2 open houses in each of those communities and 2 webinars. All 4 open houses were well attended. The most recent one up at the Dover station in Sandy was, I thought, incredibly well attended. If you know the Furwood neighborhood, I mean, it was packed out most of the time. What was great is we had a full spread of apparatus that were out there on the apron. And so anybody who was driving by was definitely seeing kind of a show of force in terms of the equipment and the personnel and assets that the agency can bring to bear. We actually got a call, during that, and our crew was able to respond, and get out the door in a minute, which was fantastic to see. So I think that all that stuff was really working well in our favor. There are 2 webinars that are virtually the same thing as what we were presenting in these open houses, but they're condensed. So somebody who really wants, the 45 minutes of what are we doing and why, And either of those communities can go onto the Clackamas Fire website and see a webinar. Thank you to the board members that participated, as well in that. We actually got some media coverage, from the Gladstone, annexation. Or the Gladstone annexation's second open house. K2 News came out, and they rolled at least 3 different segments that we're aware of, covering it. It was really simple, straightforward, good coverage. We also had K2 News, attending, actually KGW News, excuse me, attended our last webinar. And we haven't seen anything pop yet, but we expect that could happen. We also got a lot of really good coverage of the deployment of Crew 30 to Alberta. And, you know, this was a situation, you know, where we had an early season deployment. And the fact that, especially given the timing, where we were in the news cycle here around fire service as well, it was really a good opportunity to highlight Crew 30. So we got coverage of that deployment on all 4 of our local broadcast stations, KXL News, all of it just incredibly positive. And then we got good feedback coming from the crew that they, you know, appreciated that coverage and recognition. So that's something that we're gonna work to. It's not in your packet because it didn't happen in May, but similarly, this week with our task force deploying out to the Rowena fire, we worked to put out messaging about that as well.
Love that. Would you also speak to the special that you had with Chief Olson, as well as how it aired in Salt Lake City?
Yeah, that should be on this report. So moving forward, I'll plug in and make sure we're getting all the media stuff covered in here. But last month, Clackamas Fire actually partnered with K2 News on a 30-minute wildfire segment. This is available on YouTube, and I'm seeing some eyeballs that make me think maybe we should circulate this to the board of directors as well, if you haven't had a chance to see it. Clackamas Fire was actually a sponsor of the segment, along with Pacificor and a lot of others. We, as part of this partnership with K2 News, to kind of be the lead fire agency on their seasonal wildfire special, we actually brought a K2 News crew out and recorded some Defensible Space Tips TV commercials with Division Chief Olson. And those were running in heavy rotation. We actually had about 270 spots aired on K2 during the month of May, advertising the wildfire special. And then the wildfire special itself featured about the first 10 minutes was mostly interviews with Division Chief Olson. And it was a lot of retrospective look, but it was also forward looking in terms of what to expect in this wildfire season, as well as some policy initiatives being discussed. That segment ran here in Portland. It also ran in Salt Lake City. So it definitely had like a West Coast regional vibe to it. It is available on YouTube, and we can share out the link with you. Good.
Awesome, thank you for that. A couple additional things that I just want to touch on, and this is just really highlighting Community Services Division. PubMed instructed 2,714 students this year with hands-only CPR during the 2024 to 2025 school year. Those are kids that now know how to do CPR that had no idea before. So just a great job by the team getting into the schools and teaching a life-saving a technique. And then last but not least, because I'll leave the FEMA piece to Dan, I don't want to get punched here, but the Rotary Club and Clackamas Fire, we were doing double duty on the Saturday open house for Gladstone. At the same time of doing the open house for Gladstone, the Clackamas Rotary Club and Clackamas Fire partnered on a smoke alarm campaign, and they installed 100 smoke alarms at Concord Terrace. Thomas?
I was going to talk about that, and thank you. Not only that we had about 25 volunteers from the Rotary families, not only Rotarians, but the families attended. And we got a lot of feedback from Tammy that residents were super impressed. And with the collaboration with the Clackamas Rotary, we have now installed over 2,500
That's awesome.
smoke alarms in over 20 years. So this is something that we do couple times a year, and we are scheduling one for the September.
Love that.
Great effort, and the funding is by the Clackamas Rotary Foundation as well as Emergency Services Foundation.
Awesome. Thank you, Thomas. That's my report. Be happy to answer any questions if there are.
Anybody have any? I would just mention, Chief, you and I talked a little bit about it, but in the last couple of weeks, you know, I was at Weimar, watched an elderly gentleman face plant on the pavement. I called 911 and Squad 19 was there in probably 3 minutes. Meaning very close. And the people didn't know who I was. One of the lieutenant got out and said, "Hey, boss, what are we doing today?" So then the people kind of asked me, you know, what was the deal? And I said, "Oh, that's why they got here so fast. You called." No, I don't have a special board number. I have 911 like you guys do. This is what they do. But they were great. The people, they really appreciated it. The husband and wife were both elderly, a little worried, but the guys took great care of them. A couple days later, I was coming to another meeting. I was westbound on Highway 212. If you know where 222nd is, I watched a car up ahead of me start to turn left and then go up out of view. And if you've ever been there intersection, there is no up out of view. There's towards you, and then there's 222nd. Up here is the neighbor's yard. Where you head, if the other car hits you and you sort of do a 45 instead of 90. So what I looked at later was that the call went in at 240 or 240 to 340. And at 246, 319 arrived 6 minutes later. I continued on my way. I got to 172nd Sunnyside. And here came 307 and they were headed Sunnyside. And I was like, that really didn't look like that big of an accident. I mean, it looked impressive, but nobody seemed hurt. Everybody seemed to be fine. But then when I got to where I was going, I looked, and what had happened is at 246, a person had a heart issue at Pub 212. And to 247, so a minute after 19 got to the site, another call came in. 6 minutes later, 7 arrived at Pub 212. 2 responses in 6 minutes, both times serving that area.
Yeah.
The system works.
Yeah.
Everybody got taken care of and the system works. So
Awesome.
thanks to the guys.
Yeah, Mr. Chris, I saw a couple of the ads on Chief Orson.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, on
Okay,
TV.
good.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't see all of it. I heard Clackamas fire, then I turned the channel on the night, so I saw, by the time it was gone, but I saw the clip.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you saw it. I'm gonna spoil the Hollywood magic here because that was actually the side of Chief Brown's house.
Yes, it
That
was.
we were using.
But it all ties back into what you're talking about, Chris, with the incidents that our people responded to. Thomas, seeing that a lot of our communities don't really understand what we're doing, and what Chris is really highlighting the good things that our people are doing day in and day out, and trying all avenues so that the community is educated on who Clackamas Fire is and where we are, who we are and where we're going. And so glad that you saw those. So thanks for that.
Okay, anybody have anything else for the chief? Okay, then before Jay falls asleep on us, because he's on 3 hours of sleep, we're gonna wheel through this. R1D, Office of Financial Services, Chief Financial Officer Mark Whitaker.
Okay, hello again. So in May, we did have the arbitration hearing with Local 1159 to hopefully bring to an end soon, contract negotiations. So that was held on May 20. The arbitrator requested that both sides submit their written arguments, their written briefs by July 3rd. And then the arbitrator will have 30 days to make their decision. July 3rd. So, so this month, we'll be compiling those briefs and hopefully have the arbitrator's decision by the end of July or early August. At which point we'll be able to implement the new contract. You know, just a few highlights on that is, you know, throughout the process, we submitted our original last best offers back in December. The last best offers that went before the arbitrator were different. Each side made some changes prior to the arbitration hearing. And so when we started out on the arbitration route, we still didn't have agreement on sick leave or vacation leave, but both of those articles were settled or the language matched prior to going to arbitration, so the only remaining difference was on compensation. And even then, it was just on the COLA amounts and some other language pieces, but, the union did not move forward with their paramedic pay increase or their longevity pay proposal. So it really boiled down to just the difference in COLAs, and that's what the arbitrator will be deciding. Outside of arbitration, just a couple updates. So in Fleet, which you can see on the fire chief's report, we did take possession of our 2 new Type 6 brush rigs. So Bill brought those in, and those will be deployed this summer. We're also recruiting for 2 positions. One, our logistics manager, Denise Burkholder, left the organization for family reasons to move out of state. So we're hiring a new logistics manager. We're doing final interviews on that hopefully this week. And we're also hiring a new fleet technician. Paul Eggleston, who worked here for 10 years, accepted an opportunity with the city of Portland. So we're down one fleet technician and are recruiting for that. What other updates? And then on the facilities side, just to keep you up to date there, facilities have been keeping very busy. Still with the goal of completing Station 12 in time for opening that on July 1st. And that's gonna be tight, but we are still on track for that. The training center remodel is also underway. That completion date, which was also scheduled for July 1st, we pushed back to July 15th. There's been a few delays with some of the finishes there, but that should still wrap up this summer. And then if you drive by Station 1, you'll notice a new color on that station. So painting completed on Station 1. They've put a lot of work into Station 7-4 for the Sandy Open House. And next month they'll be kicking off the training warehouse remodel as the next big project that we're working towards. I think that's all. The finance report is in your packet, starting on page 82. Nothing new there. Everything continues on track for the same trends we've had previous months. So
I have a question for Chief, and can you tell me what is that program specialist Angie's role? What does she do?
Yep, so she oversees training certifications, activities calendar, Dan, some higher level stuff that she.
Yeah, so really the overall management of all of our training, and then the higher level administrative duties out of the training office, with Radonna moving over to HR, filling that position there. So really the go-to person that ultimately, you ask anybody who's worked in training, kind of runs the division, is kind of the standard person there. So a lot of responsibility on that individual certifications.
Also with
So it will be
Melissa.
parallel to the HR director?
No,
No.
HR director, the HR manager is a complete different, so if you remember, we used to have in training, we used to have a specialist. And we had an administrative technician, and then we had an administrative technician in volunteer services. And so, no, I take that back. We had 2 administrative technicians in training and an administrative technician in volunteer services. When Peggy retired, what we did is we promoted a specialist in that role, which was Radonna. And we did not backfill the administrative technician and volunteer services, and those responsibilities also went into training. So now training oversees all aspects of the administrative side of volunteer services.
Okay.
And so that's divvied up between Angie and Melissa in training. So everything that I said and Dan spoke about, as well as the volunteer services.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons I ask it, I'm thinking, if somebody asks me that this is bound to happen, what if you have somebody hired, what do they do?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if I cannot explain to somebody.
Yeah.
That means, I don't know.
There's job descriptions that we could send to you, Thomas, that would be able to really, it lays out what each and every position in the organization does. And so if you'd like, I can get Shelps to forward those on to you. Specifically with the training one, or anyone that you have a question about, we can forward those on, because that'll give you a more detailed step-by-step what each position does.
Thank you, I'll let you know.
Love that.
Anybody have any questions, comments, remarks? Yeah, got it, looked easy. All right, R1E, Office of Emergency Services, Assistant Chief Dan Mueller.
All right, well, good evening. I came in here honestly with a short list. And it might have expanded in the last 20 minutes, so we'll get through this. I'll just go as usual, division by division here. So emergency medical services, they're just finishing up the recertification process this year. So Justin Colvin is just about ready to wrap that up. And one of the big projects that they're doing, Chief Huffman is really into technology and really trying to bring technology into our training platforms. So they're doing a lot of work with VR and doing some EMS mass casualty training. So they're actually, this week, they're doing some recording of a mass casualty incident. And we're gonna not have one student on incident during the recording. It's all gonna be conducted out at the fire station, but it's all gonna be high definition, moulaged up, so everybody gets to run through and do triage remotely. So we're really he's really doing a great job with that. He did receive a grant for some equipment last year, if you remember some of that stuff that I think Jay's seen it. But some of the VR technology is pretty impressive. Operations. Yeah. Just a quick CERT update. We're still working on our deadline of June 30th to have CERT moved out into other organizations. Everything is trending really, really well. We've been in communication with the Oak Lodge group and the Milwaukee group. Everything is trending great. Everybody, Mr. Winnison and Ms. Hedges have done a lot of legwork, and it sounds like we're just wrapping up contracts with Oak Lodge Water District and with the city of Milwaukee. And we have a plan that's getting developed for moving all the assets. So everything is still working great on there. And then the other part of that is a lot of the ham radio operators. That is being cleaned up with our comms unit with Chris Nelson. So he's doing a great job of kind of cleaning up that, since he is a resident expert on the ham radio topic. So everything's trending great with that. We have a new IGA with Canby Fire District for battalion chief coverage with the new structuring of their organization with the retirement of Chief Davis this last year. Chief Matt Dale was really looking at bringing in an incident commander into his agency, and really is looking at Battalion 303 as that partnership to come in and take how it is written. It is the identical calls that Clackamas Fire would send a battalion chief on. So we have a 1-year agreement with them with our typical out clause if it's just not working out for either party. But we're really excited about that. They've adopted the strategies and tactics training that our organization has been doing over the last couple of years, and really looking at bringing in just an incident commander, ultimately to give their administration a little bit of reprieve and allow for the 24/7 staff to run 24/7 calls and allow them to do their administrative duties. So really looking forward to that. That's gonna start on July 1. We meet with him tomorrow morning. And then we're gonna have a all hands company officer in service for them, where they're gonna have all their company officers, and we'll send our VCs and do some strategy and tactics discussion and what to expect with transport command and all that. But really positive. It is in the budget this year with the approved budget. So the FEMA component, moving over to that, we have a FEMA grant to send 24 people to Texas to do the structural collapse training. That has been a work in progress. That's an 80-hour course. We just sent the first 12 people through. The next group is going in July. So good luck with the humidity and all that when they go through that grueling course. There's some social media posts that were put out. Is just really cool. That is the top of the line facility to do that training. You can't replicate it anywhere else in the country. So that is the best of the best training that our people are getting, and really excited about what they're gonna be able to bring home. Station 12, like Mark indicated, that is a tight timeline. We do have a contingency plan. If for some reason occupancy doesn't happen, still roster is already out for July 1. We're getting that area staffed. If we can't get a occupancy, if something slows down, we have a contingency plan for the crew to stay at Redland, but to be in that planning zone during the day. So everything is going well with that. But just wanted to make sure that, I know that was a question that was gonna be asked on a tight timeline, what's the backup plan? So we have that in place. Promotions and academy graduation on Wednesday, and see if I get this right, at 2 p.m. at the Abernathy Center. The academy is gonna be graduating. It's also gonna be aired on YouTube. And then at 4 o'clock, we're gonna do a promotional ceremony. We are, for the most part, exhausting our new apparatus operator list and our lieutenant's list, promoting a captain and a bunch of other positions throughout, swearing in a bunch of other positions throughout the organization. So if you can make that, that would be appreciated. Wildland is mentioned that, we do have, the crews up in Canada. Chief Olson is up in Canada as well. We have resources that have been on the Rowena fire. It looks like the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office is gonna close out that incident tomorrow. And so we have a couple members of the incident management team on the green team that are there right now that should be hopefully returned home tomorrow. We did send, this is really interesting, I've talked before about our regional work for task forces to be deployed through dispatch. And to have, like, if Multnomah County or Marion County needs a strike team or a task force of resources, that we would have that installed in CAD, and it would just be an auto generated component. Well, I gotta think what day it was, the day the Rowena kicked off. That morning, CCOM said, hey, we got a couple things we gotta work with. And then at 2 o'clock, I got a call from CCOM that said, Wasco County is asking for a mutual aid task force. Can you guys put one together? So we manually put one together, put crews on the road, led by Chief Tyson Lowther. And we had resources from agencies around the county, and they were there until about 6 o'clock in the morning, before we got them able to demo. And they got there with structures torching and pretty significant incident. I believe it's 56 structures already lost for a fire that kicked off on the 11th of June. It's pretty crazy where we're at with fire season. Let's see here. With that, there is a developing incident right now. So if my phone does ring, I'm expecting it to. There's another incident developing in Central Oregon. ODF contract. We signed, Brent and I worked through an agreement with Oregon Department of Forestry with the Malala unit to have a Type 6 engine parked at Dover. So they have, behind closed gates, this is actually, if you look at the resource allocation component of this is a great win for both ODF and Clackamas Fire. So they're gonna have a Type 6 engine, which is similar to the engines that you have on the board report, but is green. And they're gonna have it parked behind the gates with the crew there when they start their staffing. We're hoping by about June 30th, July 1st, they'll have everybody trained up. That'll be staffed 12 hours a day, 7 days a week by ODF. And they'll go do their patrol out in their district. And then at nighttime, they'll park it behind closed gates. But that's gonna technically add Type 6 capability to our area during fire season. So if you look between the volunteer coverage and that, we almost have 24/7 Type 6 coverage in the Dover area. So huge win for both agencies and a great partnership with them. And that, that wraps up my report. Any questions?
July 1st. The ribbon cutting.
There's nothing happening July 1st, Jay, at all.
Okay.
No, we are doing the ribbon cutting.
If
It's
that
just,
changes, can you let us know?
we will. No, that's the joke is that everything's happening July 1st.
Okay.
Everything is the new roster, new deployment.
It wouldn't be the first
Station
time I
12.
showed up at a meeting that got canceled.
Yeah, no, Yeah, I appreciate that. No, we'll let you know.
Everybody's tracking that. July 1, it's jumps 7 a.m.
7 a.m.
7 a.m.
Invite was sent.
Okay, one question, so where you have a promotion ceremony at 4, is that at Abernathy?
The promotional and the grad are both at Abernathy with the little gap in between.
Okay, but then I also, Sandy Fire Board meeting at 5.
We postponed Sandy's board meeting to
That's
next,
pushes back a week.
1 week.
So
So
it's all
June-
missed that one, because I have my
June-
sunrise board meeting
25th.
that night.
June 25.
Yep, so I'll miss that one, okay. All right, perfect. Anybody have any more questions for Dan? Okay. We are now up to R1F, Professional Firefighters, Clackamas County, 11, Local 1159, Vice President Andrew Gordian. Is he online?
He's not.
He's not. Okay, well, his report. We're catching up. Dan got us a little behind the curve. We're catching up because Andrew's not.
Sorry, you sure it wasn't Mark?
He was pretty quick. Okay, R1G Volunteer Association Report, Volunteer Lawson Darrow.
Evening, everybody. All right. My name's Lawson Darrow. I'm a volunteer firefighter and I graduated the 2302 Academy. Tonight I'll be presenting the Volunteer Association's report for May. So during May, we staffed Station 74 21 out of 31 nights. The volunteer rehab group was dispatched 6 different times, responded to all 6 requests, and arrived on scene 3 times to support the crews. The volunteer water tender group was requested once, responded, but was canceled before their arrival. The volunteer training for May focused on wildland fire training, including the rehab support volunteers, motor vehicle fires, EMS trauma. The water tender operators worked on alternative water supply scenarios. The Explorer training during May focused on hose nozzle forward skills. In May, we also evaluated the sparking reviews for the Explorers. 26 future volunteers participated and passed the physical agility practice tests. 8 Explorer candidates were selected to proceed to the background check phase. And volunteers and explorers attended both Gladstone and Annexation informational open houses, as well as the open house held at Station 71. If there are any questions, I'll happily answer them now.
Anybody have any questions for Lawson?
Right, if not, that concludes the report for me. Thank you guys very much.
Perfect.
Nice job.
Thanks for being here.
Nice job.
I have found Joe's replacement, and I don't recall his name.
Brent Stoll.
Yeah, Brent Starr, briefly, sir. Thank you very much. I appreciate the volunteer organization choosing me to help backfill Jerry for the 6 months and then this last year to help lead the organization. So, and I appreciate working with everybody and helping work through the volunteer organization with all the Clackamas firefighters. So thank you very much. Brent Starr filled in for me last week as I was working on moving home. So I have been moved home. Still everything's in boxes and stuff, but and then Brent and Lawson are 2 of the 5 firefighters that have going to be on the Volunteer Board Association for the 25-26 meetings, so or awesome year. So they'll be covering, and he knocked it out of the park. Did great.
Love it.
Yeah, I think so.
Thanks for all you've done.
Yeah, appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you.
I found out at the meeting, I had seen him at one of the volunteers, and I finally figured out, I was looking at, turns out Brent's dad. I couldn't figure out who I was looking at. Brent's dad was my biology teacher my freshman year in high school, and it was his first year teaching.
Oh, wow.
And he's retired, and I'm older than that.
I recognize him too. He was my physical science teacher my freshman year.
Hey,
Yeah, Tom Starr,
yeah,
yeah, and football coach.
yeah, well, he coached my son in wrestling too, so, yeah, I've been around a while, a long time ago. Small world. Everybody, I hope we looked at the correspondence. We had really nice notes and, some people appreciative of the firefighters that cleaned the paint off the sidewalk. That's above and beyond. But it's not a surprise.
No, they do
It
amazing.
kind of isn't a surprise. Informational items, good media coverage. Did anyone else have anything else? With that, the next Board of Directors meeting will be held on Monday, July 21st, 2025 at 5 p.m. The meeting will be hybrid with the public invited to attend either remotely via video conference or in person at Station 5, 9339 Southeast Causey Avenue, Happy Valley, Oregon 97086. The regular Board of Directors meeting is now adjourned at 6:38 p.m.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Ta-da.
We have multiple.